talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Listening to the Tamar Yonah Show here at Israel News Talk Radio, and we are going to be having a very informative show for you today. We're going to be speaking about the relations between neighbors, between Israel and Jordan. Jordan, who we have a peace treaty with, but it's a very frigid and cold peace. In fact, it looks like maybe it won't even hold. What's going to happen? We're going to be speaking with an Arab man who is in the opposition party of the Jordanian government, of the present ruling power, I should say. He wants to see King Abdullah out. He wants to be in. He says he's a friend of Israel and we can use more friends. So what's going to happen with that? We're going to find out. You can also call in. This is a live show. So they say good fences make good neighbors, but are fences enough to make good neighbors? A treaty of peace was signed between the State of Israel and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan in 1994 between former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and King Hussein, who was the father of the present leader, King Abdullah. Relations with Jordan have unfortunately never been warm. There has been little, if any, Jordanian tourism to Israel, though many Israelis have gone to spend their tourist dollars in Jordan. And sadly, the peace between our two countries was more of a formality. It stopped the aggressive military threat against Israel on Jordan's side, and in return, Israel ceded land and water to the Hashemite Kingdom, which, by the way, was once called Transjordan, which was part of the bigger region of the mandate, the Palestine Mandate, but we're not going to go there right now. Now, relations between Jordan and Israel have been strained in the past, but this last month, these last few weeks, we've seen an attack from the Temple Mount, which killed 2 Israeli policemen and wounded another, and another attack on Israel's embassy in Amman, which wounded a security person. Now, it was touch and go to get our staff out of the embassy in Amman to safety here in Israel. And as it stands now, King Abdullah of Jordan has stated that he will not permit our ambassador to return unless we hand over the security guard who shot his attacker and another Jordanian citizen who was running towards the scene. Needless to say, Israel has not handed over the victim to the king's court. So what now? Where does this so-called peace with Jordan stand? What will be the future between Jordan and Israel? So here to tell us more about it, we have joining us Mudar Zahran. He is a Jordanian politician and the head of Jordan's opposition coalition. He's a frequently published writer, and he's a former senior officer for the U.S. Department of State through their embassy in Amman, Jordan. So welcome to the show, Mudar Zahran.
Thanks for having me.
It's very good to have you on. So you are in the opposition party. You would like to see King Abdullah out, the Hashemites out, and you would like to take power there because you believe you can steer Jordan towards a better future. Why?
Simply, what we have a living example today of the Jordanian Hashemite regime showing its true face. Peace between Israel and Jordan was never built on good intentions. The Hashemite kingdom only gave in and decided to have peace when it was certain it could never defeat Israel in war. Therefore, there was a peace which was mostly public relations more than any factual peace. The regime, first of all, what people must understand the reason or the purpose or behind the current problem. The problems between Israel and Jordan has always been contained by the Israelis because their purpose is not to make as much trouble as much as they can to avoid trouble. In reality, this whole thing began with President Trump taking office and choosing to eliminate the Muslim Brotherhood. How does that relate to Al-Aqsa or the Temple Mount? Well, Jordan's king controls both the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan. Yes, I did say Jordan's king controls the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan, and we have lavishly documented that, and they are just one of his wings. And the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan controls the Muslim Brotherhood inside Israel. And guess where did the three attackers of the Temple Mount or Al-Aqsa came from? They were members of the Muslim Brotherhood in al-Fahim in Israel. Bottom line, there is a systematic, violent, hateful, insightful campaign launched by the Jordanian king against Israel. The Jordanian king is doing this because he fears that if Israel becomes sovereign and it retakes all of its soil west to the river, it means that he will no longer become king. So his interests are contradictory to the interests of the Israelis and the Palestinian Arabs or the Jordanians who want to rule the wrong country. Bottom line is, I have been warning for years that this man is not peaceful and his interest is in sustaining the conflict. And today, we have this manifested itself live before our naked eyes.
Now, you say that the king controls the Muslim Brotherhood. He controls the Waqf, the Temple Mount, etc. He's the king of Jordan. He's got backing of the international community. And yet, at the same time, you have said in previous shows that I've interviewed you, and we've read in the news as well, that his stability there is not so strong, that he could actually lose his power very easily. Why don't you tell our listeners about that?
Well, first of all, the Hashemite family is a family of 88 individuals, ruling almost 8 million people, of whom 88% are Palestinians. So too many eights, too many shmonas in this conversation. And at the same time, this gentleman, Abdullah, doesn't have the charisma, the knowledge, or even the power that his father once had. Hussein was not a nice man, but he was an intelligent man. And this guy lacks intelligence, obviously, in the way he's been carrying out himself. In conclusion, both the Israeli intelligence establishment with a leaked piece of information in 2015, and recently the Israeli Department of State or Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Haaretz, whether you like Haaretz or not like Haaretz, they've leaked some information about a report confirming that the Jordanian or Hashemite regime fall is imminent. So I've been saying this for some time, and some Israeli pro-Hashemite commentators were literally ridiculing my claims until it seems that the Israeli establishment believes it. And our sources in D.C. and elsewhere confirms that the common general belief is the king will fall eventually, and he shall never pass the throne to his son or any of his heirs. He's the last Hashemite king. Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow, but as we have been saying, because he is weak, because he thinks he's going to fall, the easiest thing to distract his people from toppling him is to attack Israel. And it didn't work. Where are the hundreds of thousands protesting in Amman against Israel? Where in the past, like during Operation Castled in 2008, 500,000 Jordanians took to the streets and attacked the Israeli embassy. Now, only one protest with hundreds, less than 1,000, and all of them carrying the king's photo and the Muslim Brotherhood photo. It shows that the people are hungry, angry, starving, depressed, and not concerned with Israel. Yes, they hate Jews, as I've always said. Our people hate Jews, no question about that. And this is something that must change and will change through time and education once the regime is gone. Nonetheless, they are not interested in fighting Israel. To be honest, nobody believes in this myth anymore. We can't defeat Israel even if we wanted to.
Let me ask you, just as an aside, have you ever met King Hussein or King Abdullah before in person?
I've met King Abdullah twice.
And what does he think of you?
Well, we never had an exchange where he could actually exchange such views. It was within formal setup twice, and the other meeting was at Pizza Hut where we had food. But
they
other
have
than
a Pizza
that,
Hut in Jordan?
yeah, big time, yeah. So bottom line, the gentleman wants me, he has sentenced me to life in absentia for, quote unquote, having a long tongue against the king and writing in Israeli newspaper. Very strange that the terrorists, the Islamists in Jordan, are free. They go live in Jordanian state TV, Jordanian state media, Jordanian state newspapers, while the secular guy is sentenced to life in prison. So the regime has many Israelis, especially the so-called Israeli academic experts about Jordan. They missed the mark big time. They don't have the fact, and I can authoritatively say many of them nice people. For example, a friend of mine called Dan Diker, very nice guy, but he doesn't know much about Jordan, and he, like others, make assumptions. Jordan is not only a buffer zone allegedly created to save Israel. Jordan is a buffer zone created to prevent Jews from reaching out to the rest of the world, to the rest of the region. And Jordan was designed by the colonial forces to be like that. And now with a different administration and with a different mentality in the Washington establishment, they want to change that. The Palestinian, let me sum it up, with the increase in terrorism, increase in hostility from least expected sources like China, maybe even Russia, the West, particularly the United States, sees the interest in ending the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which was a bogus, non-realistic conflict, an artificial one since day one. They want to end it so they can focus on Islamist threats and on threats from other sources. This child play in Israel has to end. It's happening. I've said things before that did sound a little outlandish, and then they manifested themselves as facts.
Okay,
and
hold
I
that
can
thought.
tell you,
Hold that thought, because we're going to a break. I want you to stay on the air with me. When we get back, I'm going to be asking Mudar Zahran about the response from the Israeli government, where it backed down and took away the cameras and the metal detectors from the Temple Mount, how that looked in the eyes of the Jordanians. And if you'd like to call in with your comments or questions, you can do so as well. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. All right, we are back here at Israel News Talk Radio. I'm Tamar Yona, and we're talking about Jordanian-Israeli relations. It has come to a point right now where it's very tense. Will the peace between these two countries continue? What will the future be? What is the best way to react? How do we react? We have joining us Mudar Zahran. He is a Jordanian politician and the head of Jordan's opposition coalition. And he's back on the show with us. Welcome back, Mudar.
thanks for having me again.
I wanted to ask you this question before we go into what the Prime Minister did in regards to the Temple Mount security. But I wanted to ask you, if for some reason the King of Jordan should all of a sudden fall, and you right now are talking to me in the UK, in the United Kingdom, how much of a support do you have that the people are going to clamor for you and want to bring you over like they did for Khomeini in Iran when the Shah fell?
Well, first of all, I have enough support. I've been all time and again proven that my people do follow what I propose to them and advice I give them through my videos and TV interviews in Arabic. One of those is the recent event where I advised them openly not to join the protest against the Israeli embassy. This is the third or fourth time I do this documented, and now we see less than 1,000 people showing up to the protests. Either way, what's necessary is whoever's going to follow the king as a successor or in an interim government must be someone that the U.S. is willing to lend support to. The Jordan, we have enough and substantial U.S. military presence. We are cooperate with the U.S. into an unprecedented manner, and that's without the king. That's our intelligence agencies and army. So for those to support the new interim government, the U.S. must be supportive. Bottom line, it's up to the Jordanian people to get rid of the king, but it's up to the United States to help the right people take over. Me or anyone else who they think is right, that's up to them. Let's see how it transpires. One thing is certain. Anyone betting on the king staying in power forever is making a very bad investment.
All right, let me ask you this question now. A lot of people in Israel, myself included, are extremely disappointed. Some of us are even humiliated a bit that our prime minister backed down after a bloody attack which killed 2 police officers, wounded a third. Happened at in the Old City, culminated at the Temple Mount where these weapons were stored in the first place, and he took away apparently at the request of the King of Jordan, Abdullah, that if they want to get their embassy staff out, they better comply and take away the cameras and the metal detectors at the Temple Mount. So my question to you is, with Bibi backing down for whatever reason, whether that story was true or not, what do you think how does the Arab world look at that?
Well, the way Jordan's king's media was portraying it, they were claiming that the king has scared Netanyahu, bullied him around, slapped him around, that that the king has broken Israel's will. Yesterday, the king made a statement.
Oh, I think we lost you. Mudar? Mudar, do we have you? Okay, we're going to try to get Mudar back. We're speaking with Mudar Zahran. He is a Jordanian politician and the head of Jordan's opposition coalition. We're talking about the recent deteriorating relations between Israel and Jordan. And we were getting an Arab view on how the Arab world sees this and what the future might be. So we're going to see if we can get Mudar back. If not, we're going to give him a call. Just get his phone number. Sorry, folks, this is live radio and things like this sometimes happen. Okay, let's see. Maybe it didn't do this. Okay. Do we have Mudar back on? Mudar? Yes. Okay,
hello?
Good. Very
Yes.
good. Okay. So you were in the middle of answering. This is very interesting. So you're saying that the Jordanian media and the papers were saying how King Abdullah basically castrated Netanyahu, put him in his place, told him who's the boss.
And how he was like the new Saladin. He liberated Al-Aqsa Mosque from the evil Jews. And the king is playing a very... Hello?
Yes, I'm with you.
A very radical Islamist rhetoric. And again, it's the game of most Arab dictators. They play secular outside and they play Islamist at home. And it doesn't end up in the favor of either Israelis or other Arabs.
Okay, so this is very interesting what you're saying. So now I want to ask you a personal question, and I hope that you'll be honest, because in order to, to really become friends and have relations, people need to be upfront and put their things down on the table. And I want to ask you, I had asked you during the break if you are a Muslim, a religious Muslim. You said that you were, that you pray 5 times a day, that you shop at kosher grocery stores to get kosher meat, and et cetera, et cetera. How do you feel about the status of the Temple Mount and Jews wanting to go up there and pray, and perhaps even rebuilding the temple there? How do you as a Muslim feel?
Well, I know that I know what Islam dictates, and Islam is very clear about this. Islamic teachings, what we are taught in our books, is completely different from what necessarily our Prophet or our Quran has come with. And that's a whole different discussion. Nothing, according to Islam, nothing bans a Jew from praying inside a mosque, even if it was all of it, all 70,000 square meters were a single mosque. Nothing could prevent the Jew from praying there. And there's a documented case where Muhammad allowed Christians to pray inside the mosque. They were praying to Jesus, to the Trinity inside the mosque. So Jews are monotheists, and they worship the same God we worship, which is the God of Moses, peace be upon him. The current arrangement must be reconsidered without monkeys in the middle like Jordan's king and the waqf. We have to rearrange our things. You've noticed that the area is huge. And why should it bother me if someone prays to my God in my mosque or near my mosque? The area is huge. The mosque is just a certain area. The Dome of the Rock is a certain area. I know one thing. If someone is to prevent Jews anywhere from praying, I'd open my home to them to come and pray. And if I know a lot of my Jewish friends and Christian friends, if someone would ban me from praying somewhere that opens their homes to me to pray, this is reality. It's much bigger than any of these countries. This has been the best investment for the Jordanian Hashemite regime and for Abbas. Each time something happens, they begin trouble in Al-Aqsa, and everyone forgets about what they're doing. This is why it is such a big issue.
But yet the Mahmoud Abbas, who heads the Palestinian Authority, said that the Jews shouldn't even, we won't allow the Jews with their filthy feet to defile Al-Aqsa. So how would you respond to that?
Well, I think the only filthy feet are those of him and the collusion between him and Abdullah about turning an issue of Islamic and Jewish sentiment, which is, should be eventually a place of unification of love over the holy site. They both are the dirty ones. The people who go, the old mothers, some of them I met one time, one Holocaust survivor who was in Al-Aqsa or trying to visit. She told me that she would like to see it before she dies, and so on. Bottom line, those people really, really have to go. Abbas and his friend Abdullah, they are a burden to both of us. If he leaves tomorrow, both of them, or if they are put in their place tomorrow, we would be able to arrange logical new arrangements. No Jew I have met wants to destroy Al-Aqsa Mosque. They just want more rights, which rights are secured according to our very own religion. Because Al-Aqsa is mentioned in the Temple Mount, or what we call it, Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, which means the same thing, Beit HaMikdash, is mentioned in the Quran, not literally. Yeah, it is in the Quran and also in the Hadith. In the Hadith, it even describes how Prophet Solomon built it, and he used gold and silver to build it. So we are definitely talking about the same location. And it's time to phase out the politics out of it and bring the spirituality into it. The status quo is unfair and unhelpful, and we must change it.
All right. We have to go to a break right now. And when we get back, I'm going to be asking you, Mudar, what you would do if you were the Jordanian Prime Minister and how you would bring a real peace forward. All right, we're back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on Israel News Talk Radio. They say that good fences make good neighbors, but it takes a lot more than that. And we're here speaking with Mudar Zahran. He's a Jordanian politician and the head of Jordan's opposition coalition. So welcome back to the show, Mudar Zahran.
Thanks for having me again.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you now, I know that you would like to see the king ousted. You don't believe that the king represents the majority of the people there, which actually is true. The Hashemite family is a very small family ruling over, I believe, 80% of the Arabs there who are not Hashemites. They consider themselves a quote-unquote Palestinian or whatever they want to call themselves, regular Jordanians. I want to ask you, if you were the prime minister of Jordan, what would be the policies you would implement, and how afterwards would you have relations with Israel? Would they be warm, cold, not at all, war, not war, what?
First of all, the first thing we must start with, once the king is gone, is banning the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamist terrorist groups in Jordan. All of those, the headquarters of the Muslim Brotherhood in the world is in Jordan. Erdogan, all of those people from the Muslim Brotherhood, they follow Jordan's headquarters, which is directly controlled by the king himself.
Okay, stop for a moment, because you know, if you're going to rid yourselves of the Muslim Brotherhood, you are going to have to, and maybe it's okay, I don't know, you tell me, you're going to have to kill a lot of people. You're going to have to do something like King Hussein did in Black September when he killed all of those quote-unquote Palestinian Arabs.
Well, I wouldn't use quote unquote. They can call themselves Palestinians if they wish, or anything else. It's their right. That said, no, because we don't have to kill anyone, because Sisi, the minute he took over, he stopped playing the game that Mubarak was playing at one point, using the Muslim Brotherhood as a scarecrow. He banned the Muslim Brotherhood in one day. He locked up the leadership, the bad ones, not everyone, but just the bad and violent ones. He locked them up to this day, and they were gone. This is not a militant group. This is an insightful ideological group. They don't have guns. It's easy to control them. The second thing we must do is act like a respectable state, honoring the citizenship of all of its people. Every single Palestinian in the West Bank is a Jordanian citizen. We're not saying cleanse the West Bank of Arabs. We're saying that if they want to come join a prosperous future Jordan, we're willing to open the gate for them, no questions asked. Today, if they enter Jordan, they have to be questioned for 2 days at the intelligence office. This would solve the right of return. According to Jordanian law, all Palestinians, non-Jewish Palestinians are, because there are Palestinian Jews and Palestinian non-Jews, okay? All non-Jewish Palestinians, according to Jordan's Citizenship Act, are natural-born Jordanians. So all those 3 million refugees in Lebanon, Syria, and elsewhere are welcome to come home to Jordan. And third of all, I definitely, as a leader of Jordan then, I would not steal tens of billions of dollars each year and would make my people live normally, and I would settle for a decent salary, and that's about it. People in Jordan are suffering because of these 3 points: lack of citizenship, and the Muslim Brotherhood, and the king's general theft. He owns 6 private jets. President Trump is shopping for a used jumbo jet to become the Air Force One, and Jordan's king owns 6 private jets. This is a joke. These things must change. Our relationship to Israel is that of existence. If there was no cooperation with Israel, there would be no Jordan. And this has always been the case, whether we like it or not, since Jordan was established. And the only reason we still have Jordan today is because of the U.S. and Israel, and we appreciate that. In my administration, under my administration, incitement against any religion or ethnicity would become a crime, just like the laws in Europe. So if you go out and say, kill the Jews, it's a crime. It's a crime. It's a hate crime to just say that. At the moment, Jordan's king himself is going on television and saying, and the video is online, you can watch it, he's saying, Israel kills our children every 5 minutes in Jerusalem. This is the king saying that. This has to change. All we need for this utopia to happen and become a reality is the help, or the political help of the United States. We're not even asking for money for Jordan. We have enough resources in Jordan if the king leaves. All we need is a convinced administration that's willing to help us and make us prosper. And it's much easier than you think.
Okay, I know that you need to go. Would you like to leave out any contact info for anybody who wants to follow you?
Absolutely. I would love to hear from people what their questions are. And also, I want to notify everyone that I would happily be participating at the Jordan Option Conference, which is taking place in Jerusalem on the 17th of October at the Menachem Begin Center. Please Google that, the Jordan Option Conference, which is organized by Michael Ross and Ted Bellman. Michael Ross of the International Jewish Muslim Dialogue Center, and Ted Bellman, a commentator and a blogger in Israel and editor of Israel Pundit. I would love to see them there. I'm available on Twitter. Look up at Mudar_Zahran. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And Laila Tov, everyone in Israel, and Shalom.
Thank you so much, Mudar Zahran.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that is the view of an Arab Jordanian, and it's been very interesting. I'm very happy to have had Mudar on the show today. Very, very interesting.